Hey guys, Jason here. I'm going to be giving you a brief high-level view of the gradient tool and gradient palette. So the gradient tool and gradient palette are two of the kind of combo tools that work together. Basically, the tool exists and then the palette exists to give you control over that tool. So what I'm going to do is just create a couple of let's just create a couple squares here. Here we go. We'll use the square tool, the rectangle tool, and I don't want this to have a stroke, so I'm going to get rid of that. And I want to be just working with the fill. By the way, the process for applying gradients to strokes works very similar to what we're doing here right now. So you can just kind of rinse and repeat these techniques if you need to apply something to the stroke. So I'm going to just make a copy of this, and then I'm going to apply different gradients. By default, Illustrator has a couple of different gradient styles, right? You have the linear gradient, you have the radial gradient, and then you have this guy here, which is our freeform gradient, okay? So I'm going to apply a linear gradient to this first, and right now my gradient is blending from black to green. I'm going to make this, or like a pistachio color, I'm going to make this a dark green. So to change that color, you just double click on the little bulb right here, and you can adjust that color to whatever you want by using the slider. Okay, and then I like to click back out on the gradient palette to get myself clear. And then after that, I just go through and I can adjust where the gradient sits. I can adjust the depth or the distance that the gradient will blend. Okay, I can also adjust how fast I want that gradient to blend. Obviously, the further I snap this line or this marker towards one side or the other, I'll notice that my gradient gets far less dissipated and it happens a lot faster. If I use the gradient tool in harmony with this or at the same time, I can click and drag all sorts of different angles, different directions, right? And that ultimately I can come back and give a little bit of control to this as well. A gradient's a great way to show a light source. So the next one I'm going to use is a radial gradient. And this one is also black to green. I'm going to change this all together. I'm going to do this cyan, but then over here, I want to do this one to cyan also, or the same color. So I'm going to hold Option, and I'm going to drag the same color out of this left side. And then to delete this color over here, I want to remove it. And you're like, Jason, why in the world would you want to do a gradient to the same color gradient? I'll show you. So I want this gradient to be, let's choose radial, which I did. Okay, just making sure, sorry. There we go. I want to choose the right side of this to have an opacity of 0. So now my gradient blends over top, right? You guys see that? So I can take this gradient and it has transparency applied to it. If I wanted to change this to a dark blue or a purple, and then adjust my color back to 100, this gives me the look of a radial gradient from a color to a color. So you can use color to color, you can use color to transparency, you can use linear, you can use radial. If you get into the freeform gradient, you can do some pretty fun stuff here. The freeform gradient, I'm sure there's a reason why it chooses the colors it's choosing. I don't really know. I think it's probably just choosing the most recent colors that I've chosen. And there's probably a reason, honestly, guys. I just don't know off the top of my head why. But this gives me some pretty cool controls to where I can take these gradient dots, these points, and move them around and adjust my gradient. When I get in here and I want to adjust, say, the color here, come back up to my color. Let's choose pink and throw this magenta in there. And we can go here. And let's throw like a super crazy green in there, right? So I get a lot of control. I can adjust the distance of the gradient, right? So how far the gradient blends by adjusting this, right? At a certain point, they get a little carried away and out of hand. You can adjust what type of gradient you want, right? You You can do points and lines to blend from one to the other, and you can bend them, right? So that's kind of cool. You can do all sorts of fun stuff with this. You can use opacity. So if I want one part of this gradient to be an opacity, I can choose this to be 0. So then when I take this shape and place it over top of another shape, you can see it has transparency there, almost like glass. So there's lots of options there for you guys. The gradient palette is super powerful. It's a lot of fun to work with. It takes a little getting used to, but there's a lot of options there. Know that inside the palette as well, let me get out of there. All right, there we go. So you have a simplified view as well as you have your extended view, okay? So if you're seeing your gradient palette and you're looking at something like this, come up here to the top right and do show options. Alrighty? Hopefully this helps, and good luck to you guys.